Hey everybody, got exciting news today. So the first bit of exciting news is I was contacted this morning about the possibility of doing some live streams on freeCodeCamp's channel. And if you don't know what freeCodeCamp is, check it out. They're pretty awesome. I've gone through a lot of the freeCodeCamp training. So they have courses that take you through, online, completely free, take you through front end and back end, and they're just awesome. So I think I'm going to be doing that at least once a week, probably more. So I'll let you know when I'll be on that channel instead of on this channel. I'll probably still do some videos on this channel too, but right now I think I have 72 subscribers, somewhere around there, and freeCodeCamp has a lot more, like 125,000 subscribers. So it's a great opportunity to reach more people, and maybe they can find something that I do or say useful. That would be awesome. The second exciting piece of news is I got a new project today. So yesterday I mentioned that I may have a new project. Well, it's official. I definitely have a new project. And the crazy thing is this website, it's a pretty basic website, but the website has to be done in less than a week. I have a little bit more time than that, but I want to leave some time for testing. I don't really like to just launch a site as soon as I finish it, because you always find things. So it's a pretty important site for the organization I'm making it for, and they've built up a lot of kind of hype in their field around it. So it's got to be awesome. It's got to be fast. It's got to be able to handle a big influx of traffic potentially. So here's the plan. We're going to build this site, and we're going to use two servers. One server is going to have WordPress. The other server is going to be running Node and React. What I'm going to do is use WordPress for the content management system so that the people who are entering the content don't have to know anything about code. They can just put it in WordPress and not worry about it. Through the WordPress API, which is pretty awesome. If you haven't used it or heard about it, check it out. But with the WordPress API, I can make API calls with JavaScript to WordPress, and I can get data. I can get all the content for the blogs, the posts, any custom post types. I could get menu content about menus. I mean, you can set it up basically to get any content that is in WordPress. You can pull out through the API. I'm going to pull that in to this other server. I'm going to render the pages on the server side so that what gets served on the first load is straight, HTML. That'll be great for search engines. Search engines don't really wait around for API calls. They can do. Google does a good job rendering JavaScript now. Not every search engine does, but you can kind of get away with that with some JavaScript things, and the search engine will pick it up. But if you try to make an API call, your page will seem blank if all your content's coming from an API call. So if you're confused about API calls and things and haven't worked with them before, we're going to be getting into that, and I'll show you how to do that. It can be really tricky at first. We're actually going to use the Fetch API, which I think is so much more simple than kind of how we used to do AJAX request, XHR. It's just you'll love Fetch if you haven't seen it yet. It's super simple. Okay, so enough about the setup. I'll explain the benefits of it as we go along. I did launch a site April 1st. No joke, April 1st. I launched a site that had pretty much the same setup. I want to try to do this even better than I did that one. So I think that's a good goal. Always try to make whatever site you're doing now a little bit better than the last one you did. So the setup works. It's fast. It helps take the load off of WordPress, so that WordPress can be kind of resource intensive on a server sometimes, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic. Well, in this case, nobody's going to be making API calls directly to WordPress. So we're going to take some of the load off. We're going to do a lot of caching of the API calls. So it's going to be great. It's going to be cool, and hopefully, I'm going to say the client. I'm just used to saying client. In this case, really, it's kind of a whole group of people from different areas need to like this site. So we're not starting from scratch, though. We have a semi-finished site that we're going to go from. So I'm going to be pulling some elements from that site and trying to incorporate them. So let me show you what I have so far. Okay, so this is a site for what's called the Catechetical Institute. We're going to just starting up, doing a lot of educational things for churches. So they really love this image. So we're going to go with kind of a hero section. Right now it's not super huge. Maybe I'll make it a little bit bigger. We'll see. But it's a nice, striking, bold image. The other site that I'm kind of going off of had not really a hero section, just a really big header with this image as kind of the header image. And then they had a hero section kind of underneath. But the problem was the header was huge. And that took up, I want to say, somewhere between 25% and half of the page, half the height of the page. And then the hero section took up the rest of the page, but even extended down. So their tagline, which is forming those who form others, their tagline was actually on a lot of screens down here. You couldn't see it. You couldn't see the tagline at all. All you could see was their header and the top of an image. So that was no good. So since they love this picture so much, this is a picture of a monstrance. So they love this picture so much, we're going to use that as the hero image. This is obviously not finished. Yesterday we made that sticky bottom nav, and I said I might be using it on another project. This is that project. So you can see as we scroll down, it sticks. We can't, there we go. See, it goes sticky, and then it stays on the bottom. Okay, so that's a really cool effect. I don't use these that much. I normally go with kind of the standard nav items up here, or maybe sidebar. But in this case, I really kind of like the look of just all the black. We have the white logo. We're going to have some white text. We're going to change this up a little bit. But I don't know, there's something about this that's just, it looks really nice. So we're going to leave it like that. The challenge with this site is going to be, there are these brand standards for Franciscan University. In a style guide, I have to incorporate that style with the style that the Catechetical Institute is going for as well. So we have to stay true to the brand standards, but then try to make it unique and work in these elements that they really want. So that's going to be a challenge. We'll see how we do. One thing that I want to change is, I think I'm going to take this out since we already say Catechetical Institute here. And we're going to make this a little bit bigger and maybe change the font. I kind of think they really like a cursive font. And on the other site, they actually went with a serif font. I'm not usually a fan of serif fonts. I usually stick with sans serif. Usually Roboto is what I go with. Pretty standard. Nice readable font. But we'll see. We might switch it up for this one. Officially for Franciscan University, the official font they use is Roboto. So maybe we'll use that for paragraph text, and for headers maybe we could go with something a little more fancy. I think serif fonts are, I think they're fine in some instances on on the web. It just depends on which font it is, how it was done, and font size, font weight. So we can make it work. All right, so let's go ahead and take this out. I want to position this differently too. Right now, I just have this in. I'm using Materialize Framework for this as well. This is actually this is the page that we were looking at yesterday, and I just made. If you can see, I'll show you my terminal here. This is that same static template repo that we've been working on off of for a while. And this is just a branch that I made, bottom nav. I'm going to take this off the branch. I just kind of have to work fast. So eventually this is going to be its own repo. But for now, I'm just going to do a little bit more on this branch. And I'll get that switched over for tomorrow to its own repo. And it'll probably be public. I don't think we're putting anything on this site that can't be public. So I think the repo will be public so you can follow along. So anyway, we're using Materialize, and this is just in a column. So we do like a 50% width column, and there's another one here that's empty. But I kind of want it over here on the side, so we're going to have to do something else. So let's bring over DevTools. Let's pop this up in the corner, make it a little bit smaller. And I did this early, but this is just a background image, just like we've been doing. Just a regular background image, and we just did a little bit of positioning to make it go over to the side. Okay, so not anything crazy. It has that same kind of parallax effect that we did last week sometime we did that. Alright, so first thing we'll do is just take out this text. So Catechetical Institute. We'll take that out. That's an H1. I don't know if I want to make this an H1. Let's just try it and see how it looks. You do want to try to have an H1 on the page for search engine optimization. Try to have at least one H1. I used to do a lot more with search engine optimization, maybe like 2 years ago. I'm not really up on like all the latest. I try to keep informed though. So if anybody is watching and you're really good with search engine optimization, SEO, and I say something wrong or there's some new info, let me know. Okay, once again, like I did last time yesterday, I forgot to open the chat window. So if you tried to type something in there and it's not showing up for me, go ahead and type it again. Sorry about that. Okay, actually I don't mind that size. It's not terrible. We need to find a font. I don't want to spend too much time looking for a font. This is the kind of thing that usually, you can spend so long looking at fonts and not get anything done. So let's just real quick go to, we'll try to find Google Fonts. That's really easy place to go. And handwriting fonts. All right, let's see. This might work for us. Okay. Let me give myself a time limit. I'm going to give myself to 2:16 to just pick a font and put it in there, and then that way I won't waste all my time. I think I actually used this font for a freeCodeCamp assignment once. Okay, so we want something. The client keeps using the word elegant to describe what he wants for this site. So let's try to find something that looks elegant. I do want it to be readable too. So sometimes the font's just a little bit too fancy. It looks nice, but it's just too hard to read. Kind of like this, but I'm worried it'll be a little bit too thick. But I like that it's a little thicker. Let's just go with this one. I think my time's up. Yep, we'll just go with this one. Okay. Let's see, I gotta remember. It's been a while since I got a font from here. So now that I've added this, what do I do? Let's click on it. Maybe this will be easier. Selected this font. Yeah, that looks, I like that. Alright, there we go. That's where it is. Okay, so let's do we're just gonna do standard for right now. We'll see, we probably could optimize this. Sometimes you don't need all the different styles of a font. But for now, we're just trying it out, so we don't need to try to optimize anything. So we're going to grab that link, and we're going to put that in. We'll pop that in right here. Usually I like to have as much at the bottom as I can, but in this case, people will see this right away, so it would be better if we loaded this first. But we're not going to worry about speed optimization or anything until we're really satisfied with how it looks. Otherwise, we might waste our efforts optimizing something that doesn't make it into the final site. Okay, so I just copied this little bit of CSS there, and we're gonna go. I don't know if I have a unique selector here. Where are we at? Here we go. Formulas who form others. Okay, so we could go with hero h1. So let's find over here. If I'm going too fast, let me know. I just don't have a lot of time to build this site, so I'm going to try to go really fast. And if I'm losing you, just type something in. There's a little bit of a delay, so I won't see it right away, but I'll keep looking over there and slow down a little bit if I need to. So the hero section should be down here. Yep. Okay. So let's we'll put that H1 in there. Probably not going to have another H1 on this page anywhere. So let's try that and see how it looks. Oh, all right. There we go. Not bad. I think I'll probably change it. It's not bad, but I don't love it. So we'll change it again. But for now, that'll give us a better idea just where to position this. The positioning is actually not that bad on a smaller screen. What size is this? 1200 pixels. Okay, that's not too bad. We can optimize for larger screens later on, but that looks pretty good for kind of this range. I'm on a pretty big monitor. I think it's 27 inches, so this is bigger than most people will have. When you are developing a site, if you're doing it on your own machine, it's likely that you'll have a better machine and a better monitor than your users, most likely, depending on what the site is and who your audience is. So always keep that in mind. I try to develop in a kind of a smaller window than my screen will hold, just to get an idea of what it'll look like. I have an old an old Windows laptop, and sometimes I just check things out on there just to see, like, okay, what will this look like on a screen that's not really that great. So that's good to keep in mind. I mean, it seems like things look a lot better on a really nice screen, and then you look at it on kind of a normal computer, and you don't always like what you see. It doesn't turn out how you thought it would. So make sure to check that out, kind of periodically as you're doing things. Okay, so that's good for now. Now we're gonna go down here. I mean, these are the images that we had just kind of as a demonstration yesterday. We'll leave them in there for right now. This highlight banner, this is what I want to focus on. So I guess I'll show you some of the elements from this other site. Let me bring this over really quick. Okay, so this is kind of like the current demo site. I don't really like this that much. It doesn't scale. We'll see how this scales. How's this gonna look when we shrink it down? Okay. The text could be a little bit bigger. It looks like those tap targets are pretty decently large. I usually try to shoot for like 40 pixels by 40 pixels at minimum for screens, and that way even people with big thumbs should be able to hit that and without a problem. Okay, so that's not bad. You see some things change. This crucifix kind of goes away at a certain point. So I think we can work with that. There's some kind of redundant things. We keep using the word formation over again. Also, I noticed just before I started the stream, these are actually the same links that are up here. Okay, so this whole section is a little bit redundant. So I'd like to do something more useful with it. So my idea is maybe instead of saying building the church here, the title of the section is going to be formation. And then we can use this somewhere else for a different section of the page. Each one of these sections is going to be like an image card like this one, so it will have the proper shadows. And we'll leave it in this kind of formation here with 2 rows of 2. I'm not sure about this. We can try to float that in the middle. We'll see how it looks. I'm pretty sure the client does want to keep this, so if we can keep it, we'll keep it. Obviously, it's not going to work on mobile. There's just not enough space, but we'll see what we can do to keep it. And I am going to, have this kind of background image here. I think that the client really likes those little flourishes. So I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take these out. This is kind of a weird little sub-menu right in the middle of the page. So I'm taking these out. I'm not sure where I'm going to add them just yet. I'm for sure going to include them in the side nav that comes up when we're on mobile, but I'm not sure that we have the space in our top nav to include this. So we'll see what we can do. Right now they actually link to the same page, it looks like. So we might not even need both of them. All right. The only other thing I'm going to do, I don't think I'm going to fade these out on hover. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a hover effect, just a slight one. Let me bring up a site where I had the hover effect. This will help get it all straight in my mind as I talk through it. Sometimes that's a good thing to talk through what you're coding or what you're going to do, and then you realize any problems that maybe you wouldn't have realized otherwise as you're talking through. So let's see. This is a site. I'm bringing it up on my other screen. I'll pull it over when I have it up. But I did a site recently where I had some material design elements, and I had pretty much exactly the same type of thing that I wanted. I just have to remember what page it was on. Okay, found it. It figures it was. I just went through every page in the site, pretty much. I think there's one other page, one or two other pages I didn't go to, but here it is. Okay, so you can see here are these cards. They have that hover effect, and these are just these images go. They're all square. They're all the same size. They go right to the edge. So that's what we want. They're not entirely square. We have a 2-pixel border radius. That's pretty standard for material design cards. But when we click, we have this nice effect. So that's actually, it's built into Materialize, but it's not exactly like this in the documentation. So we had to modify it slightly, but not too much. But that's nice. Also, we had to modify a little bit to make sure we had some scroll here, but all like, really minor stuff. I think that's what I want. I think that'll be nice for the user that they're not just getting the same links in another place. Now they're actually going to get some extra info. It's not going to overwhelm the user with a lot of text right away, but if they're interested, they click. Obviously, if they click, they're interested, right? Then they're going to get some more text and maybe even some links if we have it. So I'm not sure about the content, if there is some text content to put here, but we'll try to pull some out. There's a lot of text content already on here, probably too much. So we want to cut that down. I don't remember where I heard this or read this quote, but I think somebody said something like, take all the text you're going to have for your website, cut it in half, and then cut it in half again, and then use that. So I always try to remember that and keep everything really, really brief. So maybe some of the text that's used elsewhere on other pages we can pop in there. Okay, so that's the plan for that section. That's what we'll be working on now until the end. Well, only a few minutes left in this live stream, but we can get started on it. So let me move these out of the way since we don't need them right now. And since we have these cards already here, we can just take this markup and copy it in to that section for now. Where are we at? Okay, so we're going to take, we want to take this, we already have a section div, so let's pull this container and pop this in there. Let's see, we won't need, actually let's bring up this H2, we'll bring up this whole thing for now, because we still want a header there. And put this in here. I'm not sure how this V-align class, this vertical line, I'm not sure if that's going to work properly if we have two of them in there, but we'll see. We don't have to worry about that right now. Oh yeah, definitely doesn't work properly. I think this is using Flexbox behind the scenes, so it's kind of a newer thing in CSS. I'm not really sure where the browser support is right now. I don't think it's supported in Internet Explorer at all, but it's pretty safe to use, I've found, for your modern browsers, as long as you're not worried too much about Internet Explorer. Okay, so let's try. Let's try just moving this. Yeah, we'll move this row. Oh yeah, this is simple. Okay. Let's move this into here, right? And we'll have one container. We'll get rid of this V-line. We don't really need that right now, so we'll get rid of that, and this will just be another row, and that should fix our problem. Yep, there we go. So if you're using Materialize, you can't put multiple divs that are V-aligned. Put it all in one div, give that the V-align class, and then that will vertically align things within your div, which is kind of notoriously way more difficult than you would think it would be, but it was actually really hard to do. I remember struggling through trying to vertically align things for previous sites. So I'm right at 2:30 now, so I'm going to keep this at a half an hour, but you can see where we're going with this. I'm just going to copy this again, so we have another row here, all within this red section. I'm going to take out this text, I'm going to shrink this up, and I'm going to make it say, what were we going to say, formation. Okay, so probably when we come back tomorrow, this section will be done. I'll give you a little demo of that, and we'll move on. Actually, the entire homepage might be done. We got to move quickly, but I hope you enjoyed this, or at least learned something. Let me know if you have any questions. If I did something that you'd like me to go over more in depth, I'd be happy to do maybe a short pre-recorded video on that, or just answer your questions wherever. I'm on Twitter, I'm in the forums at freeCodeCamp, Instagram, Facebook. I don't think any of my accounts are private, so just look me up and send me a message. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back tomorrow.